President Cyril Ramaphosa passed the long-awaited Public Procurement Bill into law earlier this week. It's hoped with the passing of this bill that this will address greater efficiencies within public procurement, while at the same time promoting economic transformation as well as the support of local production and services. Or to unpack its significance and implications for us, I'm joined in studio by Kamogelo Mampane. He's Executive Chairman of the Supply Chain Council. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. So we've been hearing about this public procurement bill. It was signed into law earlier in the week. Just in practical terms, what does this mean in terms of government procurement? What changes are we likely to see?
So thank you very much, Ms. Ziba. So what we are seeing now with this new act, it's now called the Procurement Act number 28 of 2024. We're seeing the consolidation of all the regulations, laws, policies, practice notes that were there since 2000, because this act replaces the Preferential Procurement Act of 2000. So we now have one single act, because in the past you had to read the regulations, you had to read the policies, laws, the practice note and all of that to understand the procurement regime for government. So now all of that is now coming into one law, which is a huge step forward. But also, in the main, since 2000, small businesses have been receiving the wrong end of the stick of procurement, and they've always been complaining about inclusivity. And it is indeed correct that the bulk of procurement of government has been going to multinationals, large organizations, and small businesses, especially in the main, have not been receiving a bulk share of the spend. And that was because of the laws, because the laws did not allow it. So, Mrs. Ziwa, you've heard before the president saying 30% must go to black businesses or must go to women-owned businesses. But there was no regulation, there was no law to give that to effect. So, of course, the intention was okay. But, of course, if you don't have regulations or the law that supports that, unfortunately, procurement organizations in the past were found wanting. You know, the AG will come in and say, but why are you ring-fencing this procurement to small businesses? Why are you ring-fencing it to black businesses? Because you don't have the law to support that. So now all of that now has been put into this new act. And we're really hoping to see, especially state organs with their bulk spend. I mean, procurement in the country, Mrs. Iba, accounts for 1 trillion rands of spend. That's about 25% of GDP. So we have to do things differently. And if you want to drive economic growth and transformation, definitely you have to make sure that you deal with procurement of goods and services, and also to allow new infrastructure developments that we sorely need in this country.
Yeah. So you represent the Supply Chain Council. What do supply chain professionals do, and how is this law going to impact them?
So all procurement professionals in the country, they have to go back and review their own policies and ensure that they comply with this new act. Of course, there's going to be a process for new regulations to be promulgated, and we understand that National Treasury has already started the process to issue the regulations that will eventually give effect to this act. So all of them needs to go back and look at their policies. Start now. Don't wait for the regulation. Start now to review your own policies and align it to the Procurement Act that has been signed by the President. But secondly, what the bill does for professionals is that there's a professional development journey that they need to go through. And also, you know, in the past, we used to see supply chain and procurement official being influenced by external forces. And I'm saying external forces, this might be politicians or whatever other forces that wants to direct a certain agenda with procurement. Now, supply chain professionals in public sector, they have a tribunal. So if there is a problem with you're getting instructions that are contradictory to the laws that are there or your own policies, now you have another place you can go to. You can go to the tribunal and put your story out there, but not just professionals in government, also outside. Think about suppliers. You know, in the past, for a supplier to take government, that was a very expensive process. You had to approach the court. Now, a lot of small businesses didn't have the funds to do that. Now they can approach a tribunal if they are not happy with the decisions that have been made by state organs.
Very quickly, because we're running out of time, the big question that I'm sure people are asking at home and, you know, at their businesses who are watching this show is this law going to help to prevent the wasteful expenditure and ultimately the corruption that we've seen in terms of public procurement?
Of course, you can't fully eradicate corruption, but what the bill does, it tries to consolidate all the procurement within government into one area. But also it makes, it must be transparent. For an example, it talks about e-sourcing or technologies where all the transactions for procurement needs to be visible. From the day there is a demand, when you put your budget, to the day that you publish the tender, you evaluate the tender, you award. All of this process needs to be auditable, but it must be transparent so that suppliers that are participating, professionals, and the public at large can understand what is happening in this process. So no longer things must be done underneath the table, and also suppliers being appointed in the manners that we don't know, because the bill says if you were appointed not through a normal procurement process, you must still publish. We want to know how you got in. We need to know the amount and also what project are you being appointed for. So at least it's encouraging transparency throughout the process.
Thank you so much for joining us in studio. I've been in conversation with Kamokhelo Mampane. He's the Executive Chairman at the Supply Chain Council.